Alright, here's a quick look at my mortising jig. So I got 1/4" hardboard for the sub base of the router, and then a piece of hardwood as a movable fence that's in some slots. And then here is the jig itself. The jig is comprised of a double layer of plywood as its main support. It then has a piece of hardwood on the top that has a groove to accept the movable fence on the router. It has some T-tracks that act as the guides for the fence on the bottom, which is where the pieces will rest on, or the fence on the left that pieces will rest against. The the jig also has some dovetail slots cut into it for the match fit dovetail clamps, and that's what are used to hold those pieces firmly against the base of the jig. And then the T-slots can also be used to add additional clamping for small pieces.
All right, so I am going to be using my mortising jig here and a handheld router to cut the mortises in the end of each piece of stock. So I have a piece of scrap here that's the same thickness as all the rest of my work pieces, which you can see over here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the router bit placed the correct distance from the fence. So one thing you probably can't see, I'll show you underneath here, is what I'm doing. I'm taking the piece of stock and going up to the base of the router there, and then I tighten down this this piece that my pinky's pointing to, this little knob, and that sets the position of it. And then next, I'm gonna grab a couple clamps here, and we'll clamp this thing down. Let's see. One more time. Okay. All right, and then next step, I got it backwards. Damn. So, you can see the lines where the router should be, and I have my next step there, so I'll probably see it, but first I will line right here. So first I'm going to line the router with that lines on there. And so, if you can make it out, the router bit is aligned with the layout lines I put on there. And the last step is just like that. Mouse, and then right, so these pop it in. So what I'm doing is I'm just playing with the depth adjustment here, just make sure that it hits my layout line like I want it to. All right. So now time for a practice run. Let me get the shop back hose over here. Okay. I'm good. Go. It's kind of hard to hold the camera and do things. Put this back down. Put that in. All right, now I think we're ready to go. And there's a beautiful mortise. All right, so with this practice one cut, looks like everything's set up right. You can still see a little bit of my layout line there and a little bit up here. So I think it's basically centered. One thing I do to make sure that all the pieces remain flush is I'll always put the same face against the jig. So if this is always my outside face, or if this is my outside face, I make sure all the outside faces are up against this. So even if I am not perfectly centered, it'll keep all the components in line with one another.